What's up, guys? This is DizzyPW with MMOHuts, and we are down at the COG Studios Killer Combo, the host of the North American Elsword, because a certain nine-tailed fox is joining the roster this upcoming, well, at the time you're going to be seeing this, it's probably going to be tomorrow. So we've got a community manager here. Can you introduce yourself and what you do with the company?
I'm GM Moshup. I'm the PR and biz dev manager for KOG Studios, and we got a lot going on. With our nine-tailed fox, as you've introduced, coming into the game. We're going into a Christmas season, so this is a really big time for KOG Studios, and we'll see how this goes out.
All right, so let's start off. Can you give us a little bit of a backstory, just so people know why this character is suddenly being introduced, since it's been such a long time since Chung came into the game?
Ara is coming into the game with a huge backstory. You're going to see some familiar faces. You're going to see some familiar names. You're going to be introduced story-wise to a part of the world that hasn't been seen or heard of before until everything ties together. So with Ara's introduction, not only are you getting all of the multifaceted play style differences that you get with all of the individual characters, you're opening up an entire new part of the lore.
And now I got to play with her a little bit, and I just want to say this isn't your typical caster magic fox girl coming into this game. They have enough of those in Elsword already, so we're getting a badass, heavy, polearm wielding fox girl coming into this game. And the thing I found most interesting about her is the combo systems just feel so unique. She's got like wide reach, and yet she's a melee character, but she's fast enough to keep up with ranged characters. Can you tell us a little bit about the basic combos, and then perhaps into her first job class? Is it Little Xin?
Little Xin, that's actually, just to coin the phrase, it's Chinese in origin as far as sound and appearance. You'll notice the spear form. So when this little girl, the Xin, starts to open up, I mean, just your opening combo structure, her movement, I mean, people that are familiar with the action genre, her forms are very reminiscent of wushu, very reminiscent of some of the wuxia style films, and this was her inspiration. And so when you look at spear forms from wushu and you see that chaotic, beautiful, structured speed and agility, reach, and in the end movement and I want to say versatility, that's what Ara represents. So you're going to see opening combo forms that are easy enough for a beginning player, later on structured enough for some of the most pro PvE and PvP players that Elsword has to offer. And you're definitely going to see that. And I mean, as you can tell, I mean, you got to have your hands on Ara and make that work.
Oh yeah, I made it work. But the thing that I find most interesting about her is she still has some of the lore of the soul-stealing fox going on. And let's talk a little bit about her hairpin, the backstory behind that, and how she actually has an extra resource system that funnels into some of the limitations on her skills.
The hairpin is, as many Elsword fans know, I mean, you guys have already seen it on Facebook, the hairpin, you'll see the white fox, or in the lore, what's called the kumyo, or the nine-tailed fox. You see it in the Japanese lore, you see it in the Korean lore, you see it in some of the Chinese lore. What that hairpin represents is when Ara's village was attacked. I'm not going to give too much details because that's going to kind of dip into where the storyline unfolds. Ara was about to fall to pieces. Before she blacked out, she reached down and grabbed a hold of this pin to defend herself in the war, because Ara is actually from a warrior caste family. She tried to defend herself and then blank. She comes to, and the next thing you know, the path has been chosen for Ara, the direction that this storyline is now going to go, and it's all going to wrap around this warrior caste, beautiful, explosive character who now has a purpose, and that salvation is part of the direction. Why her village was attacked, what method was used to, or why the village was now gone from, I don't want to release too much information, but that village is the location, Ara now walking that path, surrounding this nine-tailed fox mythos. We now have the starting point for Ara as a character.
And can you tell me more about the limitation feature with, I believe it's her energy system?
The orbs. If you guys are familiar with the Chung, there's a whole new system. You receive, you keep your combat going, you take damage, you dish out damage, your rage bar kind of fills up, and then the orbs fill up. Well, when the orbs get to a certain point, you fill all three, you can utilize, using the control feature, to turn this new function on, and you've now changed the character. Damage, the physical appearance changes, you become more explosive, damage wielding, and then it's not identical to Chung, but you guys will see when you start playing the game that it's very, I don't want to say game changing, not to be redundant, but the character changes, the combat changes, your damage output changes, some of your combos change. To me, it's like an end game. You're fighting and you're fighting and you're fighting. You explode into this new form, and then your game changes. Now you're dishing out all kinds of damage, and you're at now a new point for the character, combat.
And so on that note, there's kind of a little bit of strategy involved with her where you're trying to build up your energy orbs, but at the same time, you don't want to explode into the fox form without your orbs, or half of your skills going to be missing. Can we talk about actually building her out in terms of you choosing skills that require energy, you're choosing skills that require mana? What's the balance between the two?
So you've got two different forms. You've got Vitality and you have Destruction, very similar to Elsword. Vitality skills will use Vitality to gain Destruction. Destruction skills will sack Destruction for Vitality. Now you can chain these different skills to gain or lose in order to create your own combination, to create your damage output versus, I want to say, almost like a restoration. Now, how you go about this, and you'll see with all of the different skills that are in the game, that difference is all up to you. How you spec out, how you attack, what kind of combos you use. Do you use fewer hits and more damage? Do you use a ton of hits and use those hits to absorb that power back into you, like you're draining mana, you're attacking to death by 1,000 paper cuts, if that's how you do it, run and gun, versus stand your ground and just dish out as much damage as possible? That is completely up to you. The character is designed to accommodate both different playstyles.
And on that note, I got a little bit of PvP practice with her, and I found that in PvE, it's far easier to get a bunch of groups enemies together and just drain their mana and get a bunch of orbs all at once. In PvP, those orbs become a lot more rare. So what is your recommendations when you're going into PvP with her in terms of which skills to bring with you? Do you think like you should have one primary energy and mostly go mana, or what's the balance you found so far?
Combos. This is true with Elsword in general. Now, because Ara is specifically one of the fastest, agile characters out there. Now, not so much on the damage end, but how do you gain that mana? How do you gain that vitality? How do you gain that destruction? By hitting. And so if you got death of 1,000 paper cuts and you're swinging for all you're worth, and that opponent just doesn't hit the ground because you're chaining 47, 50, 60 hits, which isn't necessarily uncommon, but now you're truly utilizing that. Now it's not just a spinning number. Now you're gaining all of the benefit from that. And if you spec Ara, even in PvP, if you can master that, even if you have somebody like El, who's completely way of the sword, you want to run away from him all the time because you see that giant blade coming at you. If you hit him and you stagger him, and that interrupt plays in your favor, now you can juggle him. Keep those attacks going. And once you perfect your combo, now you have somebody who's truly one of the most destructive characters, and this is my opinion, one of the most destructive characters in PvP. And now you have mobility, death by 1,000 paper cuts, and combinations that utilize vitality and destruction. It's brutal. And I think you can vouch for that one.
This guy knows his Street Fighter, so I would take his word for it on this. But from what I've experienced, the key difference I noticed is instead of having to end your combos one skill before the final animation, with her you can do your entire combination, and then you follow it up with one of her fast action skills. It holds them in place, and you start an entire new combination. So it can be very devastating even against a veteran player that knows how to combo break and get out of there, because there's just nothing they can do until you finally hit the ground. But when can we expect to see Ara out?
Ara, the servers go down Tuesday night. So this coming Tuesday, servers go down. By the time everything comes up Wednesday, you guys have Ara.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much.